देवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय सुतवाच एवं कृष्णो भ्रातृराज्ञा विकल्पितः नानाशङ्कास्पदं रूपं कृष्णविश्लेषकर्षितः
Suta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of a strong feeling of separation from Krishna over and above all Maharaja Yudhishthira's speculative inquiries.
शोकेन शुष्यत्वदहृत् सरोजो हतप्रभः विभुं तमेवानुस्मरन् नाशक्नोत् प्रतिभाषितुम्
Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply.
कृष्णेन संस्तभ्य शुचः पाणिनामृज्य नेत्रयोः परोक्षेण समुन्नत्वा प्रणयौ कण्ठ्यकातरः
With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyes. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight and he increasingly felt affection for him.
सख्यं मैत्रीं सौहृदं च सारथ्यादिषु संस्मरन् नृपमग्रजमित्याह बाष्पगद्धादया गिरा
Remembering Lord Krishna and his well-wishers, benefactions, intimate familial relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing very heavily, began to speak.
अर्जुन उवाच वच्चितोऽहं महाराज हरिणा बन्धुरूपिणा येन मे पहृतं तेजो देव विस्मापनं महत्
Arjuna said, O king, the supreme personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me.
यस्य क्षणा वियोगेन लोको ह्यप्रियदर्शनः उक्थेन रहितो ह्येष मृतकः प्रोच्यते यथा
I have just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all the universe unfavorable and void like bodies without life.
यत्संशयाद्रुपदगेहमुपागतानां राज्ञां स्वयंवरमुखे स्मरदुर्मदानां तेजोहुतं खलु मया विहतश्च मत्स्यः सज्जीकृतेन धनुषादिकृता च कृष्णा
Oh, only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the Shri princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce a fish target and thereby gain hand of Draupadi.
यत्सन्निधावहमुखाण्डवाग्मग्ने यदा इन्द्र च सामरगगणं तरसा विजित्य लब्धा सभामयकृताद्भुतशिल्पमाया दिव्यो हरन् नृपतयो बलिमध्वरेते
Because he was Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heavens, Indradeva, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. and only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Kandava forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performances of Rajasuya Yagna and paid you tribute.
यत्तेजसान्द्रपशिरोगकृमन्ममन्खार्थम् आर्यो नु आर्यो नु जस्तव गजायुतः सत्त्ववीर्यः तेनाहृता प्रमथनाथमखाय भूपा यन्मोचितास्तदनयन् बलिमध्वरे ते
Your respectful younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yagna, but they were thus released. Later they paid tribute to your majesty.
पत्न्यास्तवादिमख महाभोपिक श्लाघिष्टचारुरुकबरं कितवैसभायां स्पृष्टं विकीर्य पदयो पतिताश्रुमुख्या यस्तस्त्रियो कृतहतेश विमुक्तकेशाः
It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who draped open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sacrificed for a great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes.
यो नो जुगोपवनयेत्य दुरन्तकृच्छात् दुर्वाससोरिरचिदायुताग्रभृक् यः शाकानशिष्टमुपयुज्य यतस्त्रीलोकीं तृप्ता ममंस्तसलिलो विनिमग्नसङ्गः
During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuous fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied.
यत्तेजसाथ भगवान् युधिशूलपाणि विस्मार्पितः स गिरिजोस्त्रमतान्निजं मे अन्येऽपि चाहममुनैव कित्कलेवरम् प्राप्तो महेन्द्रभवनो महदास दासनादम्
It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of Godhead Shiva and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed to half elevated state.
तत्रैव मे विहरितो भुजदण्डयुग्मं गाण्डीवलक्षणमरातिवधाय देवाः सेन्द्राश्रितायतनुभावित्मा जिग्मीड तेनाहमद्यमुषितपुरुषेण भूम्ना
When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly palace, all the heavenly demigods, including the king Indradeva, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with a Gandhiva bow, to kill the demon named Nibataka Vacha. O king, descendant of Ajmaitha, at the present moment I am befed of the supreme personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was also so powerful.
यद्वान्तव कुरु बललाब्धिमनन्तपारम् एको रथेन ततरेमहमधीर्य सत्त्वं प्रत्याहृतं बहुधनं च मया परेशं तेजास्पदं मणिमयं च हृतं शिरोभ्यः
The military strength of Kauravas was like an ocean in which they were dipped. They dwell many invisible existences, and thus it is insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace I was able to regain the house and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were the sources of brilliance.
यो भीष्मकर्णगुरुशल्य च मुष्पतदभ्र राजन्यवर्यरथमण्डलमण्डितासु अग्रे चरो मम विभोरतयुधापाना मायूर्मनांसि च दृशा सह ओज आच
It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculation power and the strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Krishna, Drona, Salya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this.
हरे कृष्णा हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna, Madan Prabhu and Meera Mataji, thank you so much. Madan Prabhu is our regular speaker at Bhaktivedanta Manor. His classes on many Sundays. Maybe he should be speaking today. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I've made you host now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Share my screen. Okay, so we will be discussing verse number 11 and 12 from Canto 1, Chapter 15 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Text 11. Yono Jugupamana. Sorry. Yono Jugopavana. Etya Duranta Kretsha. Durvasa Sorirachita Dayutagra Bhugya. Shakanasya Upayujyayatastilokam. Triptamamam Sasalile Vinimagna Sangha. Synonyms. Ye, one who, na us, Jugopa gave protection. 1A, forest. Etya, getting in. Duranta, dangerously. Kritsrat, trouble. Durvasa Saha, of Durvasa Muni. The enemy. Rachitat, fabricated by. Ayuta, 10,000. Agrabhuk, one who eats before. Yeah, that person. Shaka Anna Shishtam, remnants of foodstuff. Upayujya, having accepted. Yataha, because. Trilokim, all the three worlds. Triptam, satisfied. Amamsta, thought within the mind. Salile, while in the water. Vinimagna Sangaha, all merged into the water. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It's a bit long purport. Translation. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting the food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed. And all the three worlds were also satisfied. Purport. Would anyone like to read the purport, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, would I, if
Yeah.
I may, please? Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Durvasa Muni, a powerful mystic Brahmana determined to observe the principles of religion with great vows and under strict austerities. His name is associated with many historical events, and it appears that the great mystic could be both easily satisfied and easily annoyed. Like Lord Shiva, when he was satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kumari Kunti, at her father's house, used to minister all kinds of services to all great brahmanas, and being satisfied with her good reception, Durvasa Muni benedicted her with a power to call any demigod she desired. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could be either easily satisfied or annoyed. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and by Lord Shiva's order, he accepted the priesthood of King Svetaketu because of the king's performance of sacrifice for 100 years. Sometimes he used to visit the parliamentary assembly of the heavenly kingdom of Indradeva. He could travel in space by his great mystic powers, and it is understood that he traveled a great distance through space, even up to the Vaikuntha planets beyond material space. He traveled all these long distances within 1 year during his quarrel with King Ambarisha, the great devotee and emperor of the world. He had about 10,000 disciples, and wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by a number of followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhan, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Duryodhan was intelligent enough to satisfy by all means, and the great rishi wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhan. Duryodhan knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahmana, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc, and thus he designed to engage the Brahmana to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the rishi wanted to award some benedictions to Duryodhan, the latter wished that he should visit the house of Maharaja Yudhishthira, who was the eldest and chief among all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Duryodhan knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthira to receive such a large number of Brahmana guests, and thus the rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin Maharaj Yudhishthir. That was the plan of Duryodhan. Durvasa Muni agreed to this proposal, and he approached the king in exile according to the plan of Duryodhan after the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. On his arrival at the door of Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was at once well received and the king requested him to finish his in the river, for by that time the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasa Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaja Yudhishthira was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could be served to any number of guests. But the rishi, by the plan of Duryodhan, reached there after Draupadi had finished her meals. When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food, and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any, but on that day she had already taken her meals, and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulties, she began to cry a woman would do in such a position. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuffs left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetable sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvasa. Bhima was sent to call them from the river. Bhima said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmanas, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed even while they were in the water. They thought that since Maharaja Yudhishthira must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry, so it was better not to go there. Thus, they decided to go away. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshvara. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service.
Wow, Hare Krishna. Sri Mataji is so nicely read. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So it was a long talk, but Prabhupada explained the story in such a minute detail. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadapi Swapadambikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Janamene Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangham Langayate Giri Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinipad. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for being here on Sunday evening. So, Shri Mataji, you will have 8:40. Will have a bhajan today.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Let me discuss this verse in the following verse. It was a long purport. This story, I'm sure almost all of us would have heard this story many times, but it is so nice to hear the same stories of Krishna Katha and the devotees pastimes again and again. So we are in the situation here. Arjuna is heartbroken. He is in tears. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was already in anxiety. Now, Arjuna is expressing his gratitude, remembering the Lord, and he's already declared in previous verses that everything that he could achieve was only because of the protection and the strength that Lord was providing him. So without the Lord's empowering someone, nobody can do anything. So he is the source of all energy, source of all strength, source of all power. So this beautiful story, Durvasa Muni is a Shiva Tattva. Shiva Tattva. He can be easily pleased and he can be easily annoyed, easily satisfied. And that's how he provided a special boon to Kumari Kunti. So Durvasa Muni is not ordinary soul, obviously. He could see the past, present, and future, because when this boon was given to Kunti, it was not that she asked for it. Durvasa, because she said, I don't know what to ask for. Because give me whatever is best for me. At that time, Durvasa Muni, seeing the future, of what may happen or what will happen, that he granted the special boon to Kunti. And Prabhupada has also explained the other times. He appears in Bhagavatam many times. Other time, we know, is the past from Ambarisha Maharaj, King Ambarisha, that he was traveling all over the universe. He could even go to Vaikuntha. So he has, not everyone can go to Vaikuntha, but he could even go to Vaikuntha and meet the Lord straight away. And the Lord obviously asked him to ask forgiveness from Ambarisha Maharaj. So, devotees, these great rishis, munis, everyone participate in the Lord's pastimes, and then we get the message as to, how Lord is so merciful, how Lord's devotees are so amazing and merciful. But they are all, all participants in the Lord's Leela. So we have to be, sometimes there may be a tendency to say, all the Durvasa Muni did this and that and this and that. But all these wonderful devotees are only participating in the pastimes to increase the glories of the Lord and his devotees. Durvasa Muni never traveled alone. He always had his 10,000 disciples with him. Yeah, so see how he used to take food. Agrabhuk. Ayuta Agrabhuk. 10,000, one who eats before. So he would eat it. And then I think in the front of him, there will be his 10,000 disciples eating with him. 1, 5, 10, 100, maybe 200, 500, 1,000, but like 10,000 disciples need to be fed if you have to feed the Durvasa Muni. So if you're thinking of any invitation for the Durvasa Muni, something to be mindful of, that we should have sufficient provisions for 10,000 plus one himself to be fed. And the Prabhupada has explained this obviously because Arjuna is remembering the past time. Yudhishthira Maharaj had this special Akshay Patra. Does anyone know how he received the Akshay Patra? This plate which can provide unlimited food until the time Draupadi had eaten. Anyone would like to share? Like, how did the Akshay Patra?
A demigod given her that?
Yes.
I forgot his name.
Lord Surya. So what
Yeah.
happened when Pandavas were exiled to the forest? All the Brahmanas were always, they were followers of King Yudhishthira because he was such a great, dharmic king, that they were all willing to follow him even to the forest. So, and Yudhishthira Maharaj's main priest was Dhaumya Rishi. So Yudhishthira Maharaj first asked all the Brahmanas and the Rishis to say, please do not follow me. We are going to the forest. We won't be able to serve you, provide for your, your necessities. But they said, no problem, we can live in the forest. We are Brahmanas, we know how to live in forest, we can survive in them, but we'll not leave you. We'll just follow you wherever you're going. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, being a king, it was his duty to always look after his, his praja or whoever is following him. He consulted Dhaumya Rishi. Dhaumya said maybe he should worship Lord Shiva, and by his boon, this Maharaj then performed that worshipping and tapasya for Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva appeared and gave him that Akshaya Patra. And this Maharaj had it. Other thing that's interesting is Shaka Anna system. So what was left on that plate was Shaka, a little bit of spinach, Anna, maybe rice. So there was a morsel of spinach and the rice still left somehow mystically on that plate. And Lord, being all-knowing, he knew exactly what he was asking for. So he was insisting Draupadi to bring that patra. He has to be fed first. But Draupadi remembered the Lord so that she can get some help. How are they going to feed Durvasa? It was all planned by Duryodhana. And if he is not fed properly, he is not satisfied, then who knows what, curse he may give. A very powerful sage. And Draupadi is already struggling with that, remembering the Lord, calling the Lord. Lord was actually at the time with Rukmini, and he straight away appeared here immediately. That he was remembered by his devotees. The Lord is asking for food. Draupadi started to cry. I'm asking your help to feed. I have nothing left here. I'm in the forest. I've already eaten, so Akshaya Patra is not going to give me anything. The Lord asked for that cooking pot. Bring up the cooking pot. So that was the cooking pot. The Lord had it. And how amazing is that? The Lord had it. That little bit which was offered by the devotee. With all love, Lord was satisfied. And when the Lord is satisfied, everyone was satisfied in the whole universe. Now, has anyone had any experience like this, that you are sometimes hungry, you did not have prasad, there's a long queue in Manor, and you somehow get a little bit of Mahaprasad, and after having the Mahaprasad, you feel like you're satisfied, you don't need to eat anymore. Has anyone had that experience? Is it a mystical thing? I don't know, I've heard some devotees saying that. So I'm asking whether any devotees ever had this experience. The audience here. No one had that experience. You always had enough prasad maybe. Okay, so some devotees say that. Even if you take a little bit of Mahaprasad, you feel nice, full up. Because the Lord is satisfied, then whole universe is satisfied. Why is this phenomena? Can anyone share? Sorry, I'm trying to make it a little more interactive. Maybe. Some thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my Dandavat pranams to you.
Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. I think because Lord is, as Prabhupada explained, Lord is the root. So if you water the root, whole tree, branches, leaves, everything will be given. They will be satisfied. So like that, Lord is the root, and so we have to water. We have to satisfy the Lord, and everything will be all right.
Yes, that's great, Mataji. Thank you so much. Lord is water the root, then all the branches, all the twigs, everything, the whole tree gets nourished. And that's how the Lord is satisfied. Lord is also the soul of the souls. If Lord is satisfied, then everyone is satisfied. This is the magic. And that's why this incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic and therefore is known as Yogeshwara. Another instruction here is that every householder must offer food to the Lord. And the result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, there you go. We don't need to be worried about Durvasa coming. And then, so long we have satisfied the Lord, everything will be taken care of. Prabhupada has assured this, and we've seen the example here itself. So no more worries about Durvasa appearing. Any other point any devotee would like to share on this particular pastime? Okay, so we can read the next one. Translation. The next one is, it was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus, he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me. And in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat. Now, no one can actually go in the same body to the heavenly planet. There are a couple of examples in the Puranas, but this is extraordinary what Arjuna had received. In the very same body, he could go to the heavenly planets, and sometimes he spent 5 years there. And he could come back. This is also not that long a purport. Anyone would like to read this purport? Then we'll discuss the story a little bit. No takers for this story?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, were pleased with Arjuna. The idea is that one who is favored by the Lord Shiva or any other demigod may not necessarily be favored by the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Ravan was certainly a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but he could not be saved from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. And there are many, many instances like that in the histories of the Puranas. But here is an instance where we can see that Lord Shiva became pleased even in the fight with Arjuna. The devotees of the Supreme Lord know how to respect the demigods, but the devotees of the demigods sometimes foolishly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no greater than the demigods. By such action, one becomes an offender and ultimately meets with the same end as Ravan and others. The instances described by Arjuna during his friendly dealings with Lord Sri Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whereas the devotees or worshippers of the demigods may achieve only partial benefits, which are also perishable, just as the demigods themselves are. Another significance of the present verse is that Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Shri Krishna, was able to reach the heavenly planet even with the self-same body and was honored by the heavenly demigod Indradev, being seated with him half elevated. One can reach the heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in the Shastras in the category of fruitive activities. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9:21, when the reactions of such pious acts are spent, the enjoyer is again degraded to this earthly planet. The moon is also on the level with the heavenly planets, and only persons who have performed virtues only, performing sacrifices, giving charity, and undergoing severe austerities, can be allowed to enter into the heavenly planets after the duration of life of the body. Arjuna was allowed to enter into the heavenly planets in the self-same body simply by the grace of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to do so. The present attempts to enter into the heavenly planets by the modern scientists will certainly prove futile, because such scientists are not on the level of Arjuna. They are ordinary human beings without any assets of sacrifice, charity, or austerities. The material body is influenced by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. The present population is more or less influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, and the symptoms for such influence are exhibited in their becoming very lusty and greedy. Such degraded fellows can hardly approach the higher planetary systems. Above the heavenly planets, there are many other planets also, which only those who are influenced by goodness can reach. In heavenly and other planets within the universe, the inhabitants are all highly intelligent, many more times than the human beings, and they are all pious in the higher and highest mode of goodness. They are all devotees of the Lord, and although their goodness is not unadulterated, still they are known as demigods, possessing the maximum amount of good qualities possible within the material world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Vishwini Mataji. Thank you. So, Prabhupada is clarifying with the modern time when people are in complete passion and ignorance, and influence of that is exhibited in becoming lusty and greedy. So this is what's going on in the present world, and this is being written 50 years ago. You can imagine what the current situation is. I don't need to probably stress on this. We all know what's going on in the world at the moment. It's degrading every day. And they're trying to, all these modern scientists, Prabhupada says, their attempts will be futile. They've been futile. All they find is just deserted places, not fit for human consumption. Sorry, human habitation. So they can never make it, as Prabhupada clarifying this, because the heavenly planets inhabitants are highly intelligent, many more times than the human being. And they are all pious in the higher and highest mode of goodness. So, beautiful point Prabhupada makes in the first purport is that by the grace of Lord's Supreme Personality Lord Krishna, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, are pleased. But it is not the other way around. So there are two things here. One is by pleasing Krishna, we have pleased everyone, as Mataji said, Yasmin Mataji said before, Rupa Mataji, that by watering the root of the tree, we have also watered the whole system, the whole tree. Similarly, by satisfying the Lord, we have satisfied all the demigods. But Prabhupada also makes the point, the devotee knows how to respect and something. We have to also be respectful to the demigods, as it is said in the last, towards the end. We have to be careful. Yes, we depend on Krishna, we worship Krishna, but we respect all demigods. There is sometimes this tendency to not respect or kind of take them as ordinary souls. They are not ordinary, they are highly empowered. And what to speak of Lord Shiva. So this is a beautiful pastime, how Lord Shiva again, glorifies the Lord and his devotees. And how devotees also glorify the Lord's devotee, Lord Shiva. So Arjun, when he started off to get the weapons from the demigods, from Indra, so he went to the forest to perform the austerities. And the pastime goes like this. So as he was going with his Ganjiva and with his quiver of arrows, in the forest there was a Brahmana there and said, well, this place is not for you if you're going to carry all these bows and arrows. There is nothing happening here. All that's happening in this place is just the austerity tapasya. So why are you bringing this weapons here? There is no place for weapons here. But then Arjun gave a beautiful reply. He said, it is not because of my own purpose. The reason for my tapasya is to get weapons, not for my own glory, not for my own, victory. It is only to serve my brother, Dharmaraj Yudhishthira. When the Brahmana heard that, he was so pleased. And then Brahman comes to his actual form. It's Indra. It's Indra himself was there. But then Lord Indra asked him to perform austerities to please Lord Shiva. He said, first you do austerities and please Lord Shiva. And then once he is pleased, then you can come to the heavenly planets and I will give you all the weapons. So Arjun then performed tapasya. Actually, Arjun also performed it in more detail in Bharat. He performed tapasya similar to what Dhruv Maharaj had performed. First, he was only on surviving on fruits. He would have some fruit every third day, and then he had a fruit every 7 days like that, and then he stopped that and then survived on water. It did happen at the stage that he was performing such difficult austerities that the demigods were then afraid to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, then what happens then? As Arjuna was performing his tapasya, Lord Shiva takes the form of a hunter and he goes there because he's arranging everything. And in the same time, there was demon who took the form of a boar and he just starts off towards Arjun to attack him and kill him. Now, as he's going towards Arjun, Arjun sees he's coming and he says, oh, although I'm performing tapasya, but since you are trying to attack me in a motivation to kill, then I have to, obviously fight back and I'll have to kill you. As he was trying to shoot Lord Shiva, who was in the form of hunter, he also said, okay, hang on, I'm shooting him. I saw him first. There was some arguments going on there, who saw him first and who should be shooting, and then the boar is coming now. And finally, they both shoot. And Arjun gets really annoyed with, this so-called hunter. So how can you do that? You don't know what the rules are. He was attacking me. And I thought first I should have killed him. Why did you interfere? And then an argument back and forth. Yeah, why not? This little hunter trying to fight me, Arjun, the great Gandhi, and he starts to show and obviously this is the Lord Shiva, and what he could have done. So he starts this first, shoot a arrow, but nothing happens, Lord. So he's just so amazed, like hunter is not getting hurt by these arrows. And then as arrows are vanishing, and then there are some stage he runs towards the hunter with his bow and starts to use the bow like a mace and starts to hit. And the hunter is just sitting there, nothing happening to him. And the hunter is just there, nothing working. Arjun, gets a little great demigod, whoever is this. He get a doubt that fighting someone. He made a little at the same place. He made a little shivling, and he offered a flower to the shivling, and he saw that the flower was then, falling on the other ground. He just fell straight, dandavat, as we say. Lord Shiva actually just congratulated him. You are a great warrior, great fighter, world's best fighter, Lord Shiva said. That time Lord Shiva also gave him the Pashupati Astra. but he warned him not to use it for any ordinary purpose, because that's very dangerous. And then with that blazing off, then he went to the heavenly planets, and it's a long story. So the point is that now Indra could have given him the weapon straight away, but Indra wanted Lord Shiva to come as well. And then in that way, Arjuna's glory will be, even more and more. And Lord Shiva respecting Arjuna, because he's devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Lord Shiva is also enjoying his fight with Arjuna and congratulating and giving him all the blessings. So this is what if we get blessings of the Lord, we get blessings of everyone, all the demigods. The success is guaranteed. So Arjuna is remembering all different pastimes. In so many ways, Lord helped them. And this is the attitude of gratitude, as you know. So he's so grateful for what he had received from the Lord. And he's remembering in that mood. So any other part, anyone on this one? Okay. So Mataji, maybe you can start bhajan. Yes. Are we ready?
Yeah, Jyoti Mataji, are you okay to share the bhajan? Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Hare Krishna Urpita, are you able, Urpita Mataji, are you able to do the recitation, English recitation first? Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. He wears a peacock feather mukut, swinging makara-shaped earrings and a Vaijayanti garland around his neck, and the sound of his ankle bells is full of rasa. Radhe Shyam, Shyam, Shyam. His lotus face is very beautiful, and his eyes are like lotus petals. Wandering here and there, he charms everyone with his flute and threefold curved form. Radhe Shyam, Shyam, Shyam. In Vrindavan, he tends the cows in the pastures, steals the gopis' minds, and holds up Sri Govardhana hill. Radhe Shyam, Shyam, Shyam. Sri Radha Krishna have united, and now the two have